This you have already studied last year when you were studying transistors.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So this is what I was talking about, amplification and attenuation. Right. So if you are talking about amplification, here what are you doing? You are increasing the strength of the physical quantity. And if you are decreasing the strength of the physical quantity, then you say that attenuation is taking place. If the size or the strength is increasing, then you say amplification is taking place. If the size or the strength is decreasing, then you say attenuation is taking place. So amplification you have already seen, and attenuation you are not going to be concerned with. So we are going to talk about amplification only. And amplification you have already studied last year when you were studying the transistors, and where you are finding the amplification factor by finding the ratio of output signal upon input signal, that is output voltage by input voltage or output current by input current. Okay, so there you are doing only amplification, you are just increasing the size or the strength of the signal. Now this strength of the signal, these signals, they can be these signals, as you know, they can be AC or DC signals, and it can be AC voltage, it can be AC current, or it can be AC power. Similarly, you can have DC voltage, DC current, and DC power. Whether the signal is AC voltage or AC current or AC power or DC voltage or DC current or DC power, you can increase the size or the strength of the signals. That means you can amplify the signals by some particular means. Okay, but just imagine, not if you can just not just increase the strength of the signal, but you can also perform some operations like addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, then it will be so interesting, is it not? So that is where operational amplifier comes in. So what is an operational amplifier? Let us define that. It is a circuit which can perform mathematical operations along with amplifying the signals. So you already know the circuits which can amplify the signals. That means you can increase the strength of the signal by using certain circuits. But with those circuits, you cannot perform any mathematical operations. For example, if you have the input voltage as 1 millivolt, then you can use a circuit and you can increase its strength to 1 volt. Okay, so here what is happening? 1 volt by 1 millivolt will be your amplification factor. But here only amplification is taking place, but you can't perform any mathematical operations. So suppose you have two voltages or two signals, voltage signals, say 1 millivolt and 3 millivolts, and you want to amplify those signals as well as you want to add those signals. Okay, so I want 1 millivolt plus 3 millivolt to be amplified, and I should get the amplified voltage at the output. So two things have to happen. The operation has to take place. Which operation? Addition has to take place. 1 millivolt plus 3 millivolt should be performed. Along with that, there should be the amplification of the signal also. So there you make use of operational amplifier. So this operational amplifier, it can perform different kinds of mathematical operations. Whichever mathematical operation you know, everything can be performed by this operational amplifier. So along with amplifying the signals, so it can perform addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, integration, differentiation, finding the log, anti-log, exponential, whichever, this one you know, whichever mathematical operation you know, everything can be performed by this particular operational amplifier. Okay, so this operational amplifier is a 8-terminal device. It is having 8 pins, and usually we use IC 741. This is the series, LM series. IC, this IC number is 741. It is having 8 pins, and here you have the notch.
Ma'am, not able to hear.
Ma'am, unmute yourself.
Hello,
Yes, ma'am.
you are able to hear now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I don't know. So I think someone had switched off the mic. Okay, so here we were talking about this 8-pin chip where you have 4 pins on one side, 4 pins on the other side. Out of these 8 pins, 3 of them are reserved for the input, 2 are reserved for input, 1 for output, and 2 for the battery supply. Okay, so this will be studying in detail later. I just wanted to show you how the IC is and how the pins are on both these sides. That is, it is a dual inline package chip. So now this is the symbol of the operational amplifier. This is usually asked for 2 marks. So it is shown by a triangle, this triangle, and 2 input terminals, 1 output terminal, and 2 battery terminals. This is what I was telling you. Out of the 8, only these are very, very important. These 5 terminals are very, very important. So you draw a triangle like this, and then you draw 2 lines at this base. One, and these are the inputs, one is the output, and on the other 2 sides you draw the battery terminals. Now here, what is this? So the actual definition of operational amplifier is a direct coupled high gain voltage amplifier with differential input and single ended output, which can perform a number of mathematical operations. Now this is the actual definition of operational amplifier. See, whatever I had told you before, whatever I have shown in the slides before, that is for your understanding. But when you are writing the definition of any particular quantity, you have to write it in the precise words. Okay. So op-amp, this is the short form for operational amplifier. Okay. So operational amplifier or op-amp is a direct coupled high gain voltage amplifier. What are all these things? I'll be telling you in the next slides. Okay. So op-amp is a direct coupled high gain voltage amplifier with differential input and single ended output, which can perform a number of mathematical operations. So as I told you here, how do you draw the symbol of a operational amplifier or op-amp? Draw this triangle like this. Okay. Then you have two input terminals, one output terminal, and two terminals for the battery. Okay. So here it is written INV. INV means it is the short form for inverting terminal. This is pin number 2 and it is the inverting terminal. You can see here this is having a minus or negative sign. Minus sign means what? That means whatever signal you give here, it will be getting inverted when it goes out to the output. So if your signal is like this, then it will be having a 180 degree difference. Okay. So if I draw a signal like this at the inverting terminal, if I give a voltage signal here at the inverting terminal, then at the output there will be a 180 degrees phase difference along with amplification. So you will be getting this signal like this. Okay. That means here what is happening? Not only amplification is taking place, but there is a phase difference of 180 degrees. Phase difference of 180 means what? This signal will be totally inverted. Inverted. Here you have at the beginning the positive cycle, then you have the negative cycle. At the output, what you are having? In the beginning, you are having the negative cycle and then you are getting the positive cycles. That means there is a phase difference of 180 degrees. Okay. Similarly, if I give the signal at this terminal number 3, this terminal number 3 or pin number 3, what is written there? It is written NI. NI means non-inverting terminal. So instead of pin number 2, if I give the signal here, what will happen at the output? Here, this is non-inverting terminal. The name itself tells you everything. Non-inverting terminal, here you have a plus sign. Plus sign means there is going to be no phase difference. Only what are you going to get at the output? You are going to get the amplified wave at the output. There is going to be no phase difference. You can see that you can compare the two signals here. When you give the signal to the second pin, that is inverting terminal, at the output you get amplified wave, which is 180 degrees difference in phase. Whereas for the non-inverting terminal, that is having the positive sign, there will be only amplification and there will be no change in phase. Okay. Okay, so as I told you, these are the symbols. It has two terminals, one output terminal, two battery terminals. Now these battery terminals are very important. Battery terminal, here you have the pin number 7, which is pin number 7. Here you connect this to the positive of the battery, and pin number 4 you connect to the negative of the battery. Okay. So input 2 is marked as minus, as I told you before. So this is called the inverting terminal. So inverting, in inverting, we just take out INV. So inverting terminal. So if input is connected to this terminal, output signal will be out of phase with the input. Input 3 is marked as positive. This is called as non-inverting terminal. See, as I told you, the name itself will tell you which terminal is what. INV means inverting. So there will be change in phase. NI means non-inverting. There will be no change in phase. Also, output will be in phase with the input. Hello? Any problem? Yes, any problem here? Yes, anything you are not able to understand? Hello? Shall I continue? Anyone?
No problem, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Continue.
Yeah, you are able to get, no? So here we have seen the operational amplifier, its symbol and its pin configuration. Okay. Now let us see the block diagram of a operational amplifier. Now this block diagram, actually the operational amplifier will have very complex circuitry inside it, but we are going to study only the block diagram of the operational amplifier because it is made up of a number of stages. Why is it required? Why number of stages is required? Because it has to perform two things. It has to amplify the signal and it also has to perform the mathematical operations. And these mathematical operations, as you know, they are so many. So it should be able to perform all kinds of mathematical operations. That is why it will be having a number of stages. Okay. So there are 4 stages basically inside this one, inside the op-amp. So for the first stage is called as the input stage. So in this input stage, this is the input stage. First stage is the input stage. So here, these are the 2 input terminals. Okay. Here we have seen in the previous this one that you have 2 input terminals. So these are the 2 input terminals. Okay. So in this stage, you have 2 input terminals and 2 output terminals. In the input stage block, you have 2 input terminals and 2 output terminals. So this is called as dual input balanced output. You have 2 input terminals, so you have dual input and you have 2 output terminals. So it is called as a balanced output. Okay. So in the first stage, that is the input stage block, you have 2 input terminals and 2 output terminals. So this is called as dual input and balanced output stage. Okay, then the next stage is called as the intermediate stage. So in intermediate stage, what do you have? The output from the input stage is coming to the intermediate stage. So there you have 2 terminals for the input, and from the intermediate stage, there is 1 output. Okay, so this is called as dual input unbalanced output. So if you are having 2 terminals, you use the term dual. So dual input to this intermediate stage. At the output, you are having only 1 this one terminal. So you call it as a unbalanced output. Okay. Then you have a level shifting stage. So in this stage, that is the third stage, you have 1 input and 1 output. Okay. So here what will happen? Here this is called as a emitter follower, where you just change the levels of DC or AC signals, but you don't amplify it. Okay. So only the impedance will be changing. So you make use of a emitter follower. So this is called as a level shifting stage. And finally, the level shifting stage will be connected to the output stage. So here you have a push-pull amplifier where actual amplification is going to take place. So what does it mean? In the first two stages, the operations are going to take place. In the third stage, the impedance matching will be taking place, and final amplification will take place in the fourth stage. Okay, so this is called as the push-pull amplifier stage. Now let us see what all takes place in this one. So in the input stage, what does it do? It provides input voltages and is responsible for maximum gain due to high input resistance. Okay, so here between these two terminals, what is important is here you should have a very high input impedance. Okay, so this is provided at the input stage, and the voltages which are to be given for performing the operations V1 and V2 will be provided at these two terminals. Okay, so these are the high impedance stages and high impedance input where you are going to give the input voltage, and because of high input resistance, you'll get the maximum gain. Okay, so second stage, it is intermediate stage. It consists of differential amplifier with unbalanced output and is driven by the input stage. Now what does this mean? Let us see. Now here, intermediate stage, as I told you before, it is having dual input and unbalanced output. Okay, so here suppose you are having the voltages V1 and V2. Okay, so if you are having the voltages V1 and V2, so if this is V1 and this is V2, then the output will be V1, whichever is bigger. Now here I can't, okay, I think I can run V1 minus V2. Okay. So in this intermediate stage, what is happening? You have two inputs, V1 and V2. So this is a differential amplifier. And what does a differential amplifier do? It amplifies the difference of the two signals. Okay, so if V1 and V2 are the two signals, then V1 minus V2 or V2 minus V1, whichever is greater, that signal will be amplified. That is why you are having two inputs and a single output. Okay. Then the third one, the third stage is the level shifting stage. The third stage is the level shifting stage, or a buffer stage between intermediate stage and output stage. It consists of emitter follower to shift the DC levels. As I told you before, here at this stage, there is no amplification taking place. Only impedance matching will be there between the output and the input, so that the input is properly transferred to the output in the required format. Okay. And then the last one is the output stage. This stage provides low output resistance and increases current supply to the operational amplifier. So at the output stage, you are going to get whatever result you are going to you are requiring. Okay, so that is the output. Now, how does the amplification become large in the operational amplifier? The input resistance must be very large and output resistance should be very less. Only then the amplification can be very large. So this is why you get a high amplification factor in the operational amplifier. Okay. So now let us see what are the ideal operational amplifier characteristics. the first and the major operational amplifier characteristic is that its voltage gain must be infinity or minus infinity actually, because we usually give the input for the to the inverting terminal. Okay, so there will be 180 degrees phase difference, and along with that the gain should be almost infinity. So what is voltage gain? How do you define voltage gain? Voltage gain is output voltage divided by input voltage, right? So if output voltage divided by input voltage is equal to infinity, then you say that the op amp has the ideal characteristics. Okay, usually you don't get infinity, but here it is almost close to infinity. Okay, so output voltage divided by input voltage is infinity, or the voltage gain is infinity. Then the input resistance Ri equal to infinity. Now, if you want the voltage gain to be infinity, as I told you before, the input resistance should be very, very large. If the input resistance is large, then current will be small, and only then you can achieve this particular quantity, that is voltage gain equal to minus infinity. Okay, so input resistance should be infinity, output resistance should be 0. And bandwidth, you know, you have already studied last time. What is bandwidth? It is the difference between the higher cutoff frequency and lower cutoff frequency. So last time when you used to find out F2 minus F1 equal to something, and then that particular quantity, that is bandwidth, this should be infinity. That means the lower cutoff frequency and the higher cutoff frequency should not have any particular value. And this frequency response, usually what you get for transistors, the voltage first increases, becomes constant, and then it decreases, right? But here you are going to get the frequency response parallel to the x-axis. That means the bandwidth will be infinite. Then common mode rejection ratio should be infinity. Now what is this common mode rejection ratio? This is also a very important parameter. Here if you have two voltages V1 and V2, then whatever is common between V1 and V2, that is V1 minus V2, whatever is common, so that common signal will be rejected, and that rejection should be infinite. It should not a single small percentage of the common signal should be amplified. Okay, so this is called as common mode rejection ratio. And then you have slew rate, that should be infinity. Now what is the slew rate? This is something, this is the ratio of the change in the output signal to the actual input signal. Okay, so this slew rate should be infinity. Okay, so these are the ideal op amp characteristics. Okay, now here we have, this is your operational amplifier. As I told you, this is your operational amplifier with two input terminals and one output terminal. Okay, so this is pin number 2, which is inverting terminal, minus sign. Pin number 3, positive terminal, that is the non-inverting terminal. Okay, and then here this is pin number 6, that is the output. Okay, so let us suppose you have a voltage source which is connected to the inverting terminal through a resistance R1. Okay, and then pin number B, that is a non-inverting terminal, is connected to ground, and between the pin number 2 and the output terminal you have a resistance. This is called as feedback resistance. I think you studied feedback last time, where you take a part of the output signal and connect it to the input through a resistor. Then you say you are giving a feedback. Okay, so here you are giving the feedback through the resistance RF. Okay, so Vin is the signal which is connected to the input terminal, inverting terminal through R1. RF is the feedback resistance, VO is the output, NI is the non-inverting terminal. Okay. Now, in the previous slide, we saw that at the input terminals, the resistance is maximum. And if resistance is infinite between the input terminals, then there is no way that current can pass through this operational amplifier. Is it not? So if from this voltage source, a current is coming here, but between A and B, you are having infinite resistance. So current will not go inside the operational amplifier. Okay. So whatever current is coming from V in and whatever current is coming from because of the feedback, these both will get added at the point O. So this point A, this is called as summing point. It is called a summing point because at this node, both input and output currents get added. Which is the input current? The current coming from V in. V in divided by R1 will be the input current. VO divided by RF will be the output current. And both of them will get added together because here the resistance is infinite. So current cannot go inside this one. So these two currents will get added. So this point A is called as the summing point. The input voltage VI equal to V1 minus V2. So this potential difference between these two is nearly zero. Why is it zero? As I told you here, because there is no current. So the potential difference will be zero, and that is why this behaves as a short. So since input impedance is zero, no current flows between A and B, and so voltage drop across Ri is zero. So A and B both are at the same potential, and because they are at the same potential, no current can flow through this one, and because of that you call this as a virtual ground. Okay, so what is a virtual ground? It is the ground, and because these two terminals, inverting and non-inverting terminal, are at the same voltage because of the high input impedance. So they are at the same voltage or they are at the same potential. So they can be called as virtual ground. Now tell me, when the current can flow? Current can flow only when there is a difference in potential. But because the resistance is very high, VA and VB both will be at the same potential, and because of that VA minus VB will be zero, and because they are at the same potential, no current can flow here, and if current cannot flow through anything, then you call it as ground. So this is called as the virtual ground. So these two terms, summing point and virtual ground, they are also very important terms. They are usually asked for 2 marks question, 2 marks or 5 marks. So you should be able to explain this one. Okay, so we'll continue next time.